class, the theories of structure of interest rates. That is the theories which attempt to explain the relationship between the duration of the bond and the yield on the bond. So for this we have three alternate theories: the expectation theory, the market segmentation theory, and the liquidity preference theory. We discussed the expectation theory in detail, which told us that the long-term rates in bonds are based on a simple average of the observed short-term rates and the expected short-term rates. Okay, so what we did was that the rate on a long-term bond, on a 2-year bond, is equal to the average of the rate on a 1-year bond, which is rolled over for another year. And as an investor, I am finding that bonds with different maturities are perfect substitutes for each other. As an investor, I am indifferent between both these investment options, and therefore the return from these options will be equal for me. So the long-term bond is giving you the same return as the short-term bonds, wherein one short-term interest rate is known and the second short-term interest rate is based on the expectation about the market, expectation of the investor about the market. And then again you can stretch this to t periods, any number of periods, and this equation becomes and so on. This vector. So this is how you calculate the you make an assumption about the future short-term interest rates, and actually the future short-term interest rates, they help you. The future short-term interest rates can also be predicted through the forward rates. Okay, so this mechanism is actually helping us make assumptions about the short-term interest rates not only in the bond market but also in case of forward rate agreements. What is the return which is expected in the future forward market or future spot market? Those assumptions can also be made here. Okay, so we are not dealing with that segment right now, but for the time being, understand that long-term interest rates are based on the simple average of short-term actual interest rates and the expected short-term interest. This was the expectation theory. Now again, if we use this theory to explain the shape of yield curve, then we say, if say for example, I say that I have a rising yield curve, which is generally the case that you have an upward sloping yield curve, and I'm using this equation to explain this. This means that RO2, that is the interest on a 2-year bond, is higher than the interest on a 1-year bond. This also means that the short-term interest rate which is known today is lower than the expected short-term rate in the future. Okay, I repeat myself. A rising yield curve means that long-term rates, the rate of interest on a 2-year bond is higher than a short-term interest rate, that is rate of interest on a 1-year bond. obviously, if that is the case, if long-term bonds are giving you higher rate of interest, higher yield, then the yield curve will be upward sloping. Okay, which also means that the observed short-term rate today is lower than the expected short-term rate in the future. अब इसको अगर मेरे को प्रैक्टिकली मैं आपको एक्सप्लेन करूं नंबर्स के साथ आपको ज्यादा क्लियर होगा. yesterday we did a practical question on the same. I am taking the same values. जब आपको known है कि say the rate of return, the rate of interest on a 2-year bond is 7.5%, while the rate of return on a 1-year bond is known to be 7%. Both these rate of interest are known to me because when I am investing at 0 point of time, these are the spot rates in the market. This value is not known to me, the expected rate in the future. For the 2-year bond to have a higher rate of interest than the 1-year bond, this value will be higher. The expected rate in the future will be higher. Okay, so this is the reason that the average of 2 will give you a longer return, a higher return in the 2-year bond. Okay, does this equation now make sense to you? The one I have written here. Okay, so and this works vice versa also. So when you have a downward sloping yield curve, downward sloping yield curve, this equation will be working in the opposite direction. That is, your return on long-term bonds will be lower than the return on short-term bonds. And I told you this is a predictor of economic recession, which is coming up in the market, and then there this will be the case. That the observed short-term rate is higher than the expected short-term rate in the future. Okay, I hope the expectation theory is very clear to everyone. The only drawback with this theory is that it is assuming that most of the times you have a rising yield curve, and then again bringing in and weighing the expectations regarding the market is not that easy. It is a complex process. Okay, and the assumption that investors are indifferent between bonds with different maturities, that also is a very stringent assumption, which is practically not observed because there is always some inflation risk, some interest rate risk prevalent in the market. Okay, so we'll take up one more question on the expectation theory and then we proceed to the remaining two theories. So the question is there on your screen. Please have a look. You have to estimate the inbuilt forward rates for these 4 bonds. Okay. Now bond A is a 2-year bond with a market price of 113. The cash flow in the first year is rupees 10, while in the second year you are getting 10 rupees as interest plus the redemption value of 100 rupees. Okay. For bond B, which has a cash flow of 105, the market price is 102, and this is a 1-year bond, and so on. You are given then the value for third year, for the third bond, and for the fourth bond. Now you need to use this information to calculate what is the 1 year forward interest rate, then 2 year forward interest rate, 3 year forward interest rate. So let us start with the question. Can anyone tell me how should we proceed? From what should be the starting point? Any guess? So we start with the simplest case, which is the 1 year bond, which is bond B. Okay. So by this time you know that the market price, using information on bond B, I'll try and calculate the 1 year forward short term rate. So bond B, the market price is based on the present value of the expected cash flow 1 year hence. So my 1 year forward rate will be the discounting factor for this cash flow. When you solve this equation, you will get the 1 year forward interest rate. Okay. So which will come to, yes, please solve. Tell me what is the 1 year forward rate coming to. Yes, 2.941 or 0.029 will be the 1 year forward interest rate. Okay. अब 1 year आपने calculate कर लिया. Now we can use the information from bond A and we can calculate the 2 year forward interest rate. How will we do that? Again, we are working on the intrinsic value of the bond. So 113 now is equal to 10 upon 1 plus 0.0294. This is discounted for 1 year, and the 2 year forward rate. So you solve this equation and you will get the 2 year forward rate. So we proceed from 1 year bond to 2 year bond, then from 2 to 3 year and 3 to 4 year, and we'll be able to get the inbuilt forward rates for these bonds. So solve now for 2 year, 3 year and 4 year. And if there's any doubt, any question here, please ask. Point 198, yes. So I think we can take this as 3.20. 3.20%, or if you want, you can take it as 3.198 only. We used some calculation mistake. Please check. You're discounting the second cash flow for 2 year time period. Okay, just tell me one thing in simple calculator, can you calculate the cube root? So there you'll have to be ready with an alternate solution. Okay, that is what I was explaining yesterday because I also rechecked in your mobile phones you can use the cube root sign but simple calculator में तो cube root नहीं होता. So then there you will have to think of an alternate. Because in this question also when you are calculating the 3-year forward rate you will have to use the cube root. Okay, anyways, continue. Next, use the information from bond C. How much is the third year interest rate coming to? 3.23. Rest of you also check. Then this will be 323. Okay, and then using bond D, calculate the 4-year forward rate. 3.229. पीयूष आप थर्ड ईयर का बता रहे हो? Yeah, so this is correct. You can round it off to two decimal places or you can continue with the same value, that's up to you. Now calculate for the fourth year. 2.72. Others also check. Take a minute more and complete fast. Okay, so 3.72 approximately is the 4th-year forward rate. Okay, and this is how you are solving the questions on calculation of forward rates. So this was the expectation theory. I hope this is clear and you'll be able to solve questions on the same. We come back to the second theory, which is the market segmentation theory. Okay, now the market segmentation theory is working on the, okay, everyone is getting 3.72. So the market segmentation theory is working on the opposite assumption of the expectation theory. So when we started with the expectation theory, the basic assumption was that an investor is indifferent between bonds with different maturities. Now the assumption under the market segmentation theory is that bonds with different durations are not perfect substitutes for each other. So bonds with different maturities are not perfect substitutes. So this theory says that there are different segments in the market. Every investor has his or her own preference with respect to the maturity in the bond, and the market is segmented on this basis. So if I have to explain the yield curve here, it will look something like this. So there you have the time to maturity. There you have the yield. This is how we explain the relationship between the time to maturity and the expected yield. So this is your yield curve. Now this theory is also saying that the yield curve is upward sloping, but the methodology of explanation is totally different. So I told you that there are different segments in the market. Segments in the market means that there is a short-term bond segment where people are investing for a short time duration. Then there is a medium term segment where people who have medium term investment needs are investing, and then people with long term liabilities prefer the long term segment of the market. Okay, now if I need say funds in another 1 year, say to buy a property for myself, then I'll invest in the short term segment of the market. But if I'm planning for my child's education, then I will prefer the long term segment of the market. So every investor has his or her own maturity preference, and that is how there are different segments in the bond market. Okay. Now this theory is also assuming that the investor does not jump from one segment to another. Okay. So if the investor is not hopping over or not moving between these segments, the liability of the investor is clearly defined, the duration preference of the investor is clearly defined, and there is no arbitrary movement in the market. Okay, and that is why the short term rates won't affect the long term rates in the market, and the medium rates won't affect the short term and long term rates, and so on. So one segment of the market is not affecting the other segment of the market, and in each of these segments the interest rate is decided through the forces of demand and supply. So if I have to plot, then say for each of the segments of the market, the interest rate is based on the demand and supply of funds in that segment. Okay. And what is found is that you will have the maximum investors, maximum lenders, people who are ready to lend money. Okay, because when I am purchasing a bond, I am actually lending the money to the corporate or to the government. Okay, so you have maximum players in the short term segment of the market, then you will have a lower number of players in the medium term, and then you have a few players in the long term segment of the market. तो अगर शॉर्ट टर्म में मैक्सिमम लेंडर्स हैं तो सप्लाई ऑफ फंड्स विल बी मोर and the interest rate will be lower. Okay, I repeat myself, if the supply of funds in the short term segment is quite big, quite high, then the interest rates will be low. And because in the long term segment we have few people who are ready to lend, the supply is low, then the interest rate will be high. This is how the market segmentation theory is explaining the upward sloping yield curve. It is saying that there are different segments, investors are not moving through these segments, and each segment is independent. It is not affecting the interest rates in the other segments, and for each segment the interest rate is being decided through the forces of demand and supply. Okay, this is how the upward sloping yield curve is explained in the market segmentation theory. Okay, and the last theory is the liquidity preference theory. I'll add one blank page here so that we can explain both the theories together. Okay, now the third theory is the liquidity preference theory. Now, the expectation theory and market segmentation theory are working in two extremes. While the expectation theory says that bonds with different maturities are perfect substitutes, the market segmentation theory says they are not perfect substitutes. The liquidity preference theory says that bonds with different maturities are imperfect substitutes. Imperfect substitutes. Now, this means that this theory is trying to balance the assumptions of the other two theories. So, it is lying somewhere in between the expectation theory and the market segmentation theory. The liquidity preference theory says yes, the long-term rates in the market are based on the average of the short-term rates which are observed and the expected short-term rates. This is what we were doing in the expectation theory. Okay, but along with this, we also provide a premium, liquidity premium for long-term investment. So say I'll denote it by theta. So for long-term bonds, some liquidity premium is given to the investor. Why is this premium given? क्योंकि short term में interest rate risk कम है और long term में interest rate risk ज़्यादा है. Okay, this I explained earlier also. If you compare two bonds, one which has a 2-year maturity, the other has a 10-year maturity, the 10-year bond is a riskier bond. Again, a 10-year bond will be low on liquidity as compared to a 2-year bond. So, to motivate the investor to invest for a longer period of time, some premium is offered to the investor in form of higher return on the long-term bonds as compared to the short-term bonds. Okay, so liquidity preference theory balances the market segmentation theory and the expectation theory and provides liquidity premium to the long-term investors. And again, this explains the long-term, the upward sloping yield curve. और upward sloping yield curve क्या बोल रहा है कि जितना ज़्यादा time increase होगा उतना ज़्यादा yield on the bond will also increase. That is, the long-term interest rates are higher than the short-term interest rate. Okay, because as per the liquidity premium theory, long-term investors are offered some premium for this duration of investment. Okay, so these are the three theories which explain the term structure, the relationship between yield and time. Here is the explanation. This I have explained you. So for all the three theories, the explanation will be shared with you. We'll stop here. Any doubts?